Boy, am I glad I'm not talking about the sea. Thank you. I'm glad I'm not talking about the sea, but the ocean. When I was a child, the Atlantic Ocean in France near Biarritz, that was my favorite playmate. It was blue, which was awesome. It was wet and salty. It had these giant 10-foot waves, and I got to dodge and tussle with them. I was this scrawny, 3-foot tall kid, and for me, I was swimming in one of the world's best hotspots for surfing. And I loved nothing more than to play with the giant wave and to play leapfrog with the waves. But to survive that game, you must avoid the wave as it breaks down. Because when the wave breaks on you, it's like you become this wet rag that gets caught in a washing machine on high-speed circle. But you also got to keep an eye out for the tide, you see, because the sea, you might be the sea's edge might be a mile from the shore, but at high tide, the sea gallops back, and suddenly you find yourself in the middle of the ocean, a mile from the boardwalk. So you have to be careful. Now, you're probably wondering why my parents were trying to drown me, but to tell the truth, I was never alone in the ocean. My mother didn't know how to swim, but I always swam with my dad or with my brother, and they were very, very strong swimmers. But when I was 8, something happened. That summer, my brother went to summer camp, and then on the first week of the holiday, my father tore a muscle. So my sister and I, we were stranded on the beach. I was 8, she was 9, and that was hell. But one afternoon, my sister and I were so desperate to go swimming that we talked my mother into going into the ocean with us. And my mother said, I can't swim, so I'm just going to stand in the water and you guys can swim around me. And we promised we weren't going to go too far away from her. And so I'm finally in the ocean, and I'm in this pack of grown-ups and their kids, and I'm trying to stay near my mom, my sister, but there's this beautiful big wave, and it's coming on the horizon, and I just can't resist it. So I swim towards it, and the wave is getting bigger and bigger, and it starts to break, and it rolls on itself. It turns into this thundering, foamy blur, and so I dive under it. I go so deep that my belly touches the ocean's rough floor. I can feel the wave trying to catch me, but I let it pass. And it passes, and I kick the ground and I burst back up, and I breathe in. And that's when another wave, a big white curling wave, takes me. The wave wraps around me like a tornado. I hold my breath, I try to relax and let the ocean do its thing. It grabs me, it shakes me, rocks me, and spins me. I'm in this stinging cold water with salt and sand, and I'm running out of air. But the wave passes, and I kick the water, frog-like, to shoot to the surface. And that's when my head hits a wall. This blast of pain and bewilderment runs through me. How can I be trapped in a box? I'm beginning to panic because I'm running out of air. But I grope around me and I figure out I'm not in a box. I've just dived headfirst into the ocean floor. So I reorient myself. I kick the ground, I shoot back up to the surface, and I breathe in, hoping against hope that there isn't a wave there to drown me. I'm treading in the water frantically. I can't open my eyes because they're filled with salt and sand. And that's when one of the grown-ups next to me grabs me. I want to say grabs me by the neck like a soggy kitten. And he kind of stranger, like this kind man, grabs me and carries me to the shore to safety. And of course I hate him. Because all I want is to go back in the water. But instead I'm stranded on the beach with my dad doing sandcastles. But meanwhile, my mom and my sister are still in the water. My sister is staying where my mom's feet touch the ground, but the tide is rising. So they start to head back. And then a really big wave comes at them, and they can't outrun that wave. So the wave washes over them. And now they're both treading water. And my sister, she's the one who told me the story. She struggles to keep her head above the water. She kicks as hard as she can, and now her head is above, well above the water. And she looks around, and she sees my mom. and she sees that my mom is drowning. Her head is tilted back, and she can barely keep her mouth above the water. And that's when my sister starts wailing for help. Au secours, she says. That's French for help. And she swallows some water, but she kicks harder and she screams louder, au secours! And then some guy comes in and he tries to grab my sister, but she shoves him away and she says, pointing, my mom! And the guy sees that my mom is drowning and he swims to her and grabs her. And with my sister, they swim back to shore, where I am, on the shore. And of course, I don't know this at the time. I'm digging sandcastle with plastic bucket. But there's this crowd of gathering, and I see my mom and my sister in the middle of this sea of legs. And then I find out what happened. And when I do, all I can say is that as I'm standing on the shore and I watch my mother and my sister panting hard, this really strong feeling washes over me. Jealousy. I'm jealous of my sister. Because when I was getting sunburned on the shore, my sister was in the ocean saving my mother's life. And I wonder what would have happened if it had been me in the ocean. Would I have been as strong as my sister? As smart as my sister? Would I have been able to save my mother's life? I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't in the ocean. But the ocean is where things happen, where you get tested. The ocean is where your feet can't touch the ground, and the onslaught of life is coming at you. And that's when you get a chance, just a chance, to find your voice and make a difference.